All right. Latin Patriot had brought something up a while ago, and I've been remiss in not bringing it up for her in response because I said I would. It made me really think of something that was worth doing a short little recording of for time, for history's sake. Is what is the blue like? What first she had asked something about MGTOW, it being just sort of the opposite of feminism, and I want to make sure that it was understood that there's nothing about MGTOW that has anything to do with some type of Marxist understanding of the world. And that really, like a lot of what I've been going over with Robert Refolk, which, I mean, like, MGTOW people constantly quote this one line from Robert Refolk. And the reason why was it was really this idea of embracing what is known about humans as animals when it comes to reproduction. It then explains sort of this idea of like the higher psychology of the human, that humans, that really females require these things to safely have offspring. Men must therefore provide those, and such provisions will tend to also then make the long-term relationship work a certain way. And what's interesting now is something really that Kevin Samuels has brought up, that Samuels has brought up specifically how much money does it take for people to get to old age. And that this is really something that, like, say, somebody like me, being raised very blue-pilled, I hate this conversation. A shock of dread goes through me. Why? Because I know that I'm probably going to work until one day I just don't get up from bed. If I'm lucky. Because if I'm unlucky, I will eventually be out of the workforce, old as dirt, and incapable of finding any way of sustaining myself. Which, since I was 20 years old, I've been having to figure something out. So that's the whole thing that I think really starts to kind of not become definitive about this idea from the internet of red pill, blue pill, but that definitely describes key differences in the mentality. That one mentality is like, I will inevitably face this problem. I'm going to have to face it now, not just face it now, but face it like hardcore, head on, and like really like a soldier. I'm going to have to be a man about it. That idea. I will take this on because I inevitably will have to. And then preparing early for this phenomena, I'll be prepared. So almost everything that we think of as sort of normal, manly, responsible adult behavior becomes something that was embraced by men who started to take the red pill. That all these men started explaining, no, she does not like almost anything about your not manly ways. She never respected that shit. You played yourself. You should have been a man. A lot of women also are just simply flighty, disloyal. Like if there is that basically, like, fundamentally a lot of grown women are effeminate. And with men, it manifests one way, effeminacy, mostly as cowardice. And you see this a lot among like blue-pilled men, that when it comes to their a lot of them and the worldviews that they will espouse, that it eventually will come down to that a lot of their views are just cowardly, that they'll do anything to agree with the nearest woman who's really loud. And yeah, as that they'll do anything to agree with the women, anything at all. They do actively humiliate themselves. That's the self-deprecation to the, and so a lot of this stuff where the people keep talking about, oh, white people this, white people that, they're so bad, blame whitey. A lot of this is literally that kind of self-deprecation taken like to a point of utter delusion. A lot of blue pill people are fundamentally delusional, and this is one can't really stress enough that this is one that definitely the Buddhists discuss. I've seen it with Greek Orthodox, that when they're kind of discussing the psyche, they have to get into this, that there is really kind of a type of thing that's not really insanity, is the way that it was being put. It's that, and so I'm sure Orthodox phronesis, you probably even have some idea of what this term is, but that it has to do with fundamentally just simply not seeing the world as it is, and insisting that the world just it operates in a way that it doesn't. I mean, and really like living in kind of a childlike pretense, because of the way our society is. Things like Social Security, people want to believe Social Security will work. When you explain to them, no, this is actually quite rationally not going to work. Like, this is a real easy explanation of why it won't work. That's actually one of the things that the red pill, this even came up on Hoodservative stream last night. No. You don't need to use coercion against the communists. Oh, no. No, you humiliate them. You keep humiliating them. Video after video after video, you keep explaining. If it takes making the same video 20 times, you keep making the video that explains fundamentally how Social Security could never work the way that it's intended. It's well, that's interesting. Somebody threw up a burner on this thing. But so what blue pill people have to live in a certain amount of delusion about the world around them. They have to actually have sort of a worldview that at some point they don't do the math, because the math really isn't fun. And that's like a real key part. And I know this because I was one of these people for so long. The thing was, like, so the kind of thing that has turned people into MAGA Republicans and MAGA Patriots, say from being like a person like me back in the day, is you realize, well, no, really, us Americans are unique in both ways of good and bad, like everybody. Like the phrase, you can never trust a Turk. But it's also that there's all this really cool stuff about the country of Turkey and Turkish culture and stuff. But I mean, it doesn't mean that you want to become like you're going to start affecting Turkish customs or start making things they look like Turkey. You have to be you. You have to be genuine. And so when you change, you still are you. The effeminate mind of the blue pillars is caught really in somewhere around a teenager or college level, but usually teenager kind of stage of life. So what you end up finding is that a lot of times this idea that America is good has and grows and improves. While they might like to anthropomorphize a lot, they can't make that anthropomorphism. A people that are constantly improving on things are well known for improving things, having inordinately high standards for like products and services, which, I mean, anybody who would be blue-pilled or left of center, they would say, yeah, Americans are kind of like that. We're really picky. This would be something that they would criticize as an attribute of American culture, and said, well, yeah, but this is also, it's both sides. This is also the thing that makes us do all these good things too, that everyone likes, like improving on things and trying to figure out how do we make this a bit more efficient and a bit better or more affordable. That's our thing. That's like what we do. So, the blue pill, it ends up being sort of this really something that I started. This is why so many people have turned to the idea of being traditional. With the traditional comes eternity. That's something actually that I really took me a long time doing the theological study end of it. With the modernists have pretty much today until the bomb falls. They live for tonight, living for the weekend, that kind of thing. It is die young, leave a beautiful corpse as one of the various forms of wisdom of the modern. This is why the traditionalists came back. This was a offshoot of the red pill. Was the neo-traditionals, and these people who are trying to figure out how to regenerate something that my teacher put as the ritual of life. And he said that once you lose the ritual of life, he said what we have lost is the ritual. That's what his statement always was. What we have lost is the ritual. Because he basically got into this idea of that for all of us that were interested in all these, studying these ancient ways of wisdom and health and gaining fighting abilities and gaining fighting power and stuff like that, he was like, what a lot of, he really knew, he's like, what a lot of you like guys around 20s, what you're looking for is the ritual of life that made men like that in an age past, such that we have remembered their fighting arts. Like in Okinawan Kempo, the kata is named after the person who basically taught it to the Okinawans, and not like in some primordial way. Like there's actually really good documented work on these people as military attaches from the Tang Dynasty, and there's this great web page that the Okinawans did. So in a way, that's the red pill. That red pilled my Kenpo is knowing the dates around which somebody like Kusan-ku went to Okinawa to teach and ended up teaching the form Kusan-ku, or Batsai. That who was this person? Oh, they were a military attaché around this time, and this is what records the Okinawans have of them, because there's this really great page that is a historical and cultural heritage page of Okinawan Kempo, and I think they even put it as they call it Ryukyute, for this Okinawan fist or Okinawan hand style. But so in one way, like, you get like kind of a blue-pilled view from an earlier time, just in my life, that these people that Bullshido had to kind of blow out of the water. And Bullshido red-pilled people on martial arts. Red-pilling gives people metrics. Red-pilling gives people the rules and laws of how stuff behaves. Critical race theory is very blue-pilled compared to race realism, which is very red-pilled, because race realism uses the actual pith. One relies on certain principles to derive its epistemology. It's to derive its fundamental understandings of, what are we talking about when we're even discussing using the term race, really a word that doesn't quite, that doesn't have the same scientific research definition as what most people might mean when they fill in a blank on a government form. So, where critical race theory is just really a bunch of sort of wild-eyed tales by Marxists about racism, so that they just come up with sort of then this weird, just sort of a weird bucket of crap that they hurl at white people, and it's even embarrassing, really. Critical race theory people are actually kind of, when the more you listen to them, and when you're really a student of history, it just gets more and more embarrassing that you're like, why are critical race theory people kind of so dumb? Like, yeah, it's actually, there's a kind of a sad quality to it. You know, it's like critical race theory people just come across as fucking dumb, like fake smart people, just that they're fake smart. So that's the deal with the blue pill. The blue pill, they want to stay really in relationships that would be much more like, when you're around them, they're much more like something at a maturity level of like middle school. Blue pill could not, and it did not survive time. It can't survive time. This is one of the things that actually is really kind of important that I like thought about. I'm like, oh wait, I gotta continue on that one. Is somebody like me becoming red pilled? That's not weird. That would be a very normal course of life for many people. This idea that as you grow older, you kind of don't. It's not even so much you grow cynical, just that you really start seeing through a lot of things, and that is a major part of the red pilling of people, is that they just start to see through stuff. They're like, I've seen this kind of shit before, that kind of mentality. I've been bullshitted like this before, that kind of idea. And so the blue pillars are often people that they are people who are naturally suckers as well. I could, confess this, like, about myself, that this would be quite true. And it wasn't necessarily not easy to fool me, but that I would believe a lot of stuff based on kind of just my sense of a person's personal sense of their authority, in a way. And usually in the funny way, like they would say something, like there's one in particular. There's one of the oldest, Mr. Trinkling here, who might drop a comment. He is one of the best of exploiting this in me. Is that he would come up with the best fucking gags. It would be like, oh, like It was something random as hell would come up, and he would come up with an explanation that would take 10 minutes for him to do. All lies. All complete lies. And it was hilarious because he would wait for me and I would be like, wait a second, that's not true. And then he would just crack this smile and do this fucking move. That was the funniest shit ever. It was fucking hilarious. It was like this weird little dance that he would do with his hands. And I can't even do it justice describing it. But it was so funny. Because he would just get me. He would get me on something because it would sound so, like it made so much sense. What he was saying would make so much sense. And then I'm like, wait a second. He goes, yeah, I'm lying. He goes, yeah, I'm lying to you. That was pretty weird. I'm just fucking around, and I'm just like, oh, dude, you totally got me. And it was good. It was good. It was good times. That was fucking good times. But like, and my father would do this too, where he would kind of make something up, and I would be like, wait a second. And then he goes, I was just seeing if you would fall for it. I was like, that's why I warn people who are younger than me that I work with. I go, oh, no, don't worry. I love to deceive the youth. And they always, it's funny because I find it's one of those lines that apparently a lot of young women, their reaction to it is kind of interesting. Sometimes the reaction to it's kind of interesting, like, tee-hee, oh, don't tell me lies. It's like, it's kind of funny, but it comes across, I think, as very kind of, old man trying to be smooth, and, I'll lie to you, baby, But anyway, so but that's something about the blue pill thing, is that as time goes on, it's very hard to maintain it, I think, for a lot of guys. When you're a family man, you sort of have to, because you don't want to really upset your wife, the other women who kind of surround the family life of a lot of men. But I've definitely noticed that among family men, that they're naturally drawn more to a blue-pilled explanation of anything at any one time. That, or it's like one or the other. It's one or the other. It's blue or red, in a way, when I think about it now. When I give it a bit more thought, because they either have to stay in the good graces of a very liberal wife, or the good graces of a wife who has absolutely thrown that shit out of the window. and typically when wives go conservative, they go hard red pill. When women get red pilled, they don't get a little red pill. They've blown up a bridge. Typically, by the time they get there, they've torched a bridge. So. All right, I have a day off. I got my coffee, so I'm going to enjoy myself a little space mining, because I've been spending space money. All right, later.